So today we have Brian Lewis from Engine Ready, and we just attended a phenomenal session. Congratulations, very well put together.
Thank you,
in PPC Summit, and I just have a pleasure meeting with him, grabbing him, and have him give us 12, 15 things we can do to make sure SEOs, PPC expert, SEM agencies to make sure their PPCs are running healthy.
Very good. Well, I think the first thing, as I mentioned in the presentation, is really get a good handle on what your goals are, what your goals and objectives. What are you trying to do, not only with your website, but what are you trying to do with through your PPC initiatives? And is it lead generation, e-commerce? Those are easy questions to answer. But then if you have multiple actions on your site, if you have a newsletter sign up, but you also have a white paper, and then you also have fill out this form so you can become a lead, you really need to focus on which one of those is the most important. And you can have the multiple actions, but set up separate campaigns for those so that every single campaign and ad group is as granular as possible. We talked about the acronym SMART when it comes to setting up goals and objectives, and it's important that when your goals are aggressive, but that your goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And as I was mentioning, we see that a lot in our clients. Is the goals aren't so specific. It's more like, hey, I want to increase my sales or increase my leads, and they're not so much time-bound either. You know, it's not like, okay, by the end of Q4, I expect my CPA to drop 15%. And really, for the most effective goals, that's what you should be shooting for. Moving on from there, then I think as we get into really the campaign architecture, it's all about your keywords and really understanding your marketplace, your competitors, and your products and services so that you can come up with a proper keyword list. We talked about broad, phrase, and exact, and how each of those can be beneficial in different applications and different situations. And
typically you should start with broad and then carry on to phrase and exact?
Yeah, as long as you have a well built out negative keyword list. Because as you know, with broad keywords, if you don't have the negative keyword list, you're going to get a lot of unqualified traffic. And the example that I mentioned in the presentation was a client that we took on that sells logo pens, personalized pens, and he didn't have any negative keywords, and his ad was very generic. His ad said personalized pens, a great selection, shop now, and he was getting clicks and paying for clicks and visits for keyword phrases like animal pen, dog pen, horse pen, pig pen, play pen, because people were expecting to buy personalized dog pens for themselves, and of course he didn't carry that because he carries writing pens. So he was able to save a lot of money by that. So yeah, definitely broad, cast that wide net out there, starts bringing in all the traffic for you. That's when you really want to start getting down to exact so you can really focus and narrow down those qualified visitors.
Okay, so that's the second tip, and I think you talked a little bit about geo-targeting and...
Geo-targeting, yeah, geo-targeting also works for companies that don't necessarily need to geo-target. The example I gave there was, let's say you sell nationwide, and you have a large group of potential customers in larger metropolitan areas like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. Your competitors may be geo-targeting those areas because people who live in those areas have different demographics and may have different buying habits. So if your competitors are setting up geo-targeted campaigns and bidding differently there, you're going to want to do the same thing to be able to take advantage of that and be able to have that flexibility. Because after all, if you're more profitable in New York than in LA, you don't want to change your bids across the board to perform better in LA and then hurt your New York business. So we find that geo-targeting is something that's very important.
Mm-hmm. And I think you also talked about day parting and allocating your budget during the day.
Right. Google has a really nice day parting and ad scheduling system. Mm-hmm. They also have some pretty decent reporting if you're interested in clicks and spend as far as conversion data by hour or by day. We need to go back to your analytics for that, but most analytics can handle that. Certainly Google Analytics can. The Yahoo Web Analytics, which used to be index tools, can handle that. And identify what hours of which days are you really having the best CPA. And then you can get into your ad scheduling or day parting in Google and either bid more aggressively during those times or shut down or bid less aggressively during the times when you're not as profitable. So it's another way to really get in there tightly manage those campaigns.
Okay, great. Anything else would you like to say for small businesses to tighten their PPC budget or spends?
The word test, which I've heard through all the sessions, is so important. Testing your ad creative, and you only get 70 characters. Mm-hmm. Testing your landing pages. And there was a really good question about, well, what if our landing pages only get a couple of conversions a month? How can we do an A/B split test? We don't have a large enough sample size. Mm-hmm. And the way I understand the testing works is that it's not so much based on the sample size alone, that if there's a huge swing between one page and the other page, you don't have to have a large sample size. So in other words, after 1 month, if one page has generated 5 conversions and the other page has generated 0 conversions, sometimes that's enough for the algorithm to say, you know what, I'm ready to declare that page a winner, the one with 5 conversions, even though it may be a small sample.
Would you like to say something about CTR?
CDR.
A quality score, and
quality
how
score.
quality score is combination of keywords and landing page and ad copy?
Yeah, quality score is a little bit of an unknown. I mean, we do know certain things that impact your quality score, which ultimately is going to impact how much you're going to be paying for your clicks. Certainly the relevance between your keyword and your ad creative, the relevance of your landing page. We've heard things like how quickly your landing page loads, and we believe things like bounce rate of your landing page could have an impact, because that tells Google if people are hitting your page and bouncing right off it, then perhaps that's not a good user experience. Perhaps your page really isn't about what you're trying to sell, and therefore we're going to give you a lower quality score. It's something that all marketers need to be aware of, but I wouldn't necessarily make all my decisions based on that, because in certain situations you actually may do better with a lower quality score. By trying to improve your quality score, you may bring in unqualified traffic. Your CPA may actually go up, even though you're paying less on a per-click basis.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.